We got a very special person in the building, my friend Dominque Morgan. How you doing?
All right, man, what's going on?
You know, enjoying this good Saturday, you know.
Look, it's not 100 degrees yet, so.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't you give the people a little introduction, let them know what you do, because you're very active out here.
What do I do? First and foremost, I'm a musician. Like, that's my first passion. I'm a singer and a songwriter. And then I found advocacy about 8 years ago. Thought it was gonna be just kind of a volunteer thing, give back, kind of balance the scales of, you know, what I took from life to kind of give back is how it started. And then I realized that my purpose really was to figure out how I could fill in the gap for people.
Right.
And so it started, you know, just kind of in larger nonprofits, sitting on boards and stuff like that. And then it expanded to that direct frontline kind of work with young people, people of color specifically, and people who are in the LGBTQIA community. And now I'm, you know, full-time at Charles Drew as a health educator there, and you know, that kind of is the day stuff, and then everything kind of expands from there right now. So yeah.
That's cool. How did you get involved with that? I mean, was it challenging to?
It was challenging because I didn't have a roadmap for it. I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't, you know, I have certain friends in my life who I remember, you know, when we were in junior high school, they knew what high school was gonna look like and college was gonna look like and where they were gonna volunteer for their internship in college. Like, they had it planned out. Right. I didn't. I didn't know, and you know, my prison time derailed me in a really significant way because I had accepted kind of a basic style of living was gonna be as much as I was gonna be able to have access to after being incarcerated from the age of 19 to 27, you know, with, you know, coming out of the joint with an associate's degree in culinary management, you know. My dad always said, you know, people die and people gotta eat. So either be able to like wipe butts and take care of people in the medical field or cook and do that. And blood and guts wasn't my deal. Right. So I was like, I can do this, but I was just like, I just want to be able to make enough money and pay my bills and have a little bucket to get me from point A to point B and not have to ask someone to open my door and when I could go to the bathroom. Right. That's all I was really searching for, truth be told. And I found pride. I performed that first year. And it was kind of like a bucket list thing. I was a person, again, I had really decided I could only have so much. Like, this is all I was gonna be able to be allowed, and not to hope for that much more because that would lead to disappointment. I think when you've been through things that constantly are kind of you walking into a wall, you're like, okay, let me bring down my expectations, because if I don't expect much, I won't be, you know.
Disappointed.
Exactly. So I was like, I had written, you know, in my 8 years, I did about 18 months in solitary confinement, and I wrote about 300 songs.
Wow. And
my biggest hope was to sit on somebody's open mic stage somewhere and maybe like, you know, a cappella, just kind of pull them out one by one, you know what I'm saying? And so prior to that year, they was like, oh, you can come out and perform. And so I went into the studio and I did like a couple of original tracks, and I did some covers. And I was like, this is it. I've made it. Like, I'm cool. I had went and got my best outfit from City Trends, you hear me? I was good. But being there that day, I watched how the organization worked, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I could kind of, this is my space. So I became the volunteer coordinator. So it was giving me that, the access to music and stuff without expecting me to have the career myself. I could just work in that space in a volunteer format. Right. And then it just evolved from there. I'm like, oh, there's this piece of it and there's that piece of it. And I think with volunteer work and advocacy, if you don't know what your passion is and what square you stand on, you just kind of flutter around.
Okay.
As I began to figure out like who I was in this body at, you know, 28, 29, I jammed out February 16th of 2009. And then my mother passed away in December.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. But I became a parent overnight to a 12-year-old.
Right.
And those things I think really pushed me to figure out, like, okay, what do you really care about? Like, what's really important to you? Because you don't have a lot of time, right?
That soul searching.
You know what I'm saying? Like those things that push you. My dad passed in 2000, and I loved my father, but my mother was like really like my best friend. And it's like when you, I was telling my partner this last night, is that I think people underestimate. We expect a lot of people in this world, but I knew growing up that there was two people who just had to love me, my parents.
Right.
And so once my parents was gone, I was like, there's nobody walking this earth who's like required to really care about what happens to me. Or who's gonna be, if I leave tomorrow, who's gonna defend my honor, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always gonna be mama standing up there behind the casket. You ain't gonna talk about my child, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got that. So I need to figure out, what will people say about me if I'm going tomorrow?
Right.
Like what is that gonna be? Am I gonna allow them to be like, you know, this is a dude that did 8 years, and you know what I'm saying? He was just, is that it? You know, and that's no disrespect to anybody that's their story. That couldn't be mine.
No, I relate.
You know what I'm saying?
Relate to that.
And so then it just kind of evolved by bits and pieces, and it was also a lot of people telling me, you can't do this. Right. You want to be a musician, you can't be an advocate. You want to be an advocate, you know what I'm saying? You out, you gay, you black. Ain't nobody about to listen to you on stage. What you about to sing about? You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, the music scene here is very rap oriented. So you have to understand that within black culture, queerness is not something that's seen, one, as masculine, and two, as acceptable. So I can write the best songs. I could, you know, spend the best money on outfits. I can be as professional as possible, but they wouldn't let me on stages. You know what I'm saying? So then it was like, okay, well then I'm gonna build my own stages. I'm gonna make my own shows. I'm gonna book my own venues, and I'm gonna sell them out. You know what I mean?
And your show was dope too. Not to cut you off.
Thank you.
But I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And that's like the evolution of it, because literally it was like, we not gonna let you come do the show, fam. Like you know, Dominque, you cool. We'll sit up in the studio with you. And they didn't do it out of disrespect. It was, you know, it's a cultural thing that I'm up here battling, right? And the understanding of, and I think that's what really pushed me into understanding and investigating my blackness and what that meant to me. I think I ran away from my blackness for so long, because I remember like being 9 or 10 and feeling like, either I'm gonna be like this really kind of sophisticated, like well-rounded gay man, or I'm gonna be like this black dude who I don't really figure out how to be this really great black man. I mean, I had a father in my life, my parents were married my whole life. It wasn't that I didn't have examples of positive blackness in men. I didn't see how that applied to me in the intersectionalities I lived in. You feel what I'm saying? So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go with the one that I feel like is a little more attainable. And I really pushed my blackness to the side. But as I got into advocacy and seeing this work, again, I think you see yourself in the people that you work with. And you seeing black and brown people like marginalized, and you seeing them not get as much access to services, and you know,
all based off of that one.
All based off of that one piece. It doesn't matter what else is wrapped around it. I'm in the gay club, and they got posters and pictures, but I don't see any black or brown people. So does that mean that I'm not desirable? Does that mean that I'm not valuable? I'm going to shows and all these other things in these big venues in Omaha. I'm seeing these people on stages getting checks. I don't see any black musicians. You know what I'm saying? Like all these spaces, I'm like
what's going on?
What is happening? And then it was just like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be that dude that no matter where I'm at, whatever is missing, I'm supposed to bring that to the table. When, you know, I'm the assistant secretary for the NAACP. When I'm at an NAACP meeting, I'm supposed to talk about queer youth and LGBT folks who are just as black as y'all are, but y'all leave from the table.
And that's a big problem too.
You know what I'm saying? When I'm at a pride meeting, I'm supposed to be black. I say black so many times, and I see their eyes roll in the back of their head, and I hope y'all fall out your chair, because it's not going to stop. Black.
Is like pressure, it seemed like to choose or something, or I mean,
it's always pressure. Like it was this year. It was funny. I laughed about it, but it was the realization of having to choose come to life. Juneteenth parade and the Pride parade were the same day at the same time this year. I literally had to choose whether I was going to walk in the Juneteenth parade or walk in the Pride parade. Like I like that, and that's what days feel like sometimes. It's like oil and water, and not because I don't think it's combative. It's just that we've built a culture here in the U.S. where those two things don't really coincide. They don't really build. They would never, for instance, they would never put a parade about, you know what I'm saying, blackness as a culture on Father's Day. Why? Because Father's Day is a day that we celebrate fathers. We give fathers that space.
Right.
We all recognize that as a holiday, whoever you are, right?
Right.
Nobody was checking for pride when it came to black culture because that's not something that they feel like really applies to us, or it's a thing that we have to worry about. So, so you have you see what I'm saying? Like they never do Juneteenth on St. Patrick's Day, or they would, you know what I'm saying? Like we acknowledge all sorts of things that are universal besides identity that so many of us black folks cross with. And whatever your belief system is, you have to recognize that when you choose to not acknowledge something, you erase people.
Right.
And I don't think blackness is built on unity. Blackness is built on togetherness. Like, that's how we survive from the very beginning.
From the beginning, that's how.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never been one of us just, you know what I'm saying? And the ones who think it's one, those are the ones that fail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In my experience and watching over history, it's the black people who figure out, okay, whether I feel like I have the answer or not, but if I build whatever my movement is on togetherness, on us doing this together, it's extremely successful, right?
Right.
But it just feels like, you know, that happens all the time. So it's been that. So, you know, I feel like, again, I just go back, I feel like I need to be that guy that brings whatever is missing to the space I'm in.
Right.
And making sure that we just don't forget, because I feel like we forget often about all the people who can't make it to the room or who don't have a seat at the table.
Yeah, you're definitely right, because it's like, for some reason, I've never thought about that, you know, like how hard that would be. Because it's like, to me, it's like, I mean, I try to push like the whole human, like we're all human, you know, and I'm definitely black and I'm proud to be black. But I never thought about how like a person, like yourself, like how hard it is to be proud to be both. And if it's both a marginalized community, like how do you work with both? Like, and that's like, I just never thought of, like, even here in Omaha, like how hard it would be to say, hey, I want to stand up for black people rights, but then to have a person that, you know, to marginalize you based off of like what to me is a private thing. Like, it doesn't affect, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't affect your work, in my opinion. So I just never thought about how hard that would be, or like that would even be an issue. I don't know why, but I just never did.
It's such an issue, and then you look at the institutional racism within the queer community.
Right.
I always tell people all the time, because, you know, white gay people swear that they're advanced. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, just because you're in a marginalized group does not mean that you can't be racist or have biases.
Right.
But when gay marriage passed, I haven't seen a white gay person go to the streets and riot or protest since then. Why? Because that was the last thing that was keeping white gay folks from being just like their white counterparts. That was the only thing keeping them separated. They've assimilated. You see what I'm saying? Right. You have gay, queer folks, who are dying and being murdered every day. Every day, this year alone, there's been over 20 trans women of color who have been murdered. And I'm not talking about like, oh, it's, you know, it's an overdose or something like that. I'm talking about, we know they've been murdered. You mean to tell me that could be, you know, 20 white gay boys named Timmy out here dead somewhere, and that wouldn't be a mandate, or they wouldn't have put a curfew on somebody or something like that?
Yeah.
But this whole community they don't care because of the race factor. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But then the other side of it, within the black community, if there was 20 cisgender, and cisgender means folks who identified as female at birth, and they identify with the gender they were assigned at birth.
Okay.
20 cisgender women come up missing in a 2-week span. You mean we ain't gonna be out here with flashlights in the daylights looking for them?
Yeah, somebody would.
But because these folks fall in this gray area, nobody cares. And they're part of two huge minority groups in this country.
Somebody would advocate for them.
Nobody, because they fall in the gap. So that's my job. Like, who falls in the gap? And who's talking about that? Who's talking about these kids on Leavenworth having to sell their body because their mama put them out?
Right.
But their mama get up and go to the nearest Baptist church on Sunday morning and swear she's the most sanctified person. And I'm out there feeding her baby ham sandwiches Saturday night so that baby can make it because they're out there selling their body because they have to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where my work is kind of evolving to.
Right. And that's to me, that's where it's the most important. Like a place where other people won't go.
Yeah.
You know, that's like when I try to talk to young brothers like that get caught up in the street life, and that's I go straight to them. You know what I mean? Like I've never even considered going to like a group because it's like every time I've got involved with groups of people, it's like we'll sit here like we sitting now and we'll be like, okay, this is the problem, this is what we need to do. And in my mind, I'm thinking like the kids you talking about is like right down the street.
Yeah.
Like we can go right now and they'll talk to us and all of that. But it's like they just never do it. And not to judge nobody else or whatever their motives, I don't know. So me, myself, I just feel like, you know, if I just, hey, what's up, man? You all right? Let them know somebody care. Like, you know, it's like those people that people forget about. That's where it's the most valuable, I feel like. So that's a beautiful thing.
People like to meet, is what I've learned. That's why people send me a calendar and I'll be like, what's the point?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can sit in meetings all day.
Right.
What work do we do? What's the impact? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like if you've been doing something for 2-3 years and I can't see any receipts,
right,
there's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why I've started to kind of transition to doing more reentry work because there's programs around here, but besides, shout out to Raquel Henderson. Besides Raquel, who I'm seeing this sister putting folks in jobs every day.
Right.
Even when that's not her main job anymore. This is what she does all day, every day. I'm seeing people get all these grant dollars to help people transition, and I'm not seeing any effect. I'm still seeing people fail through this system every single day.
Right.
And that's not making sense to me. If you've been around for 5-10 years doing reentry work, I need to be able to look and see what's happening, and I don't.
Right.
So I'm grateful that through work at Charles Drew, I've been allowed to do that through my day job. But nationally, like I'm moving into those spaces. I've just joined this national task force that literally is working to dismantle the prison system. Yeah. I start this program at Georgetown in October, working on that also. Like, I feel like that's next.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what's next. Like, it's kind of been like this whole thing like, oh, at the end of the day, Dom, it came to me maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, because as black folks, we start getting a really nice check and we're like, I'm cool.
Yeah, I know.
Like
everything's all
my
right.
office got nice air conditioning and we got good Wi-Fi at the Drew. And I was like, do I want to be here 20 years? Like, what's next for me?
Right.
Again, going back to when we've been let down so much and then we get something that's good, we're like, I'm going to just sit here. Why try to go to the next ledge if I'm a fall?
Yeah, I could fall down farther than I am now.
You feel me? I got the footing here.
Right.
I'm cool. But it was just like, again, what's the point then? Right. I'm just sitting. I'm not living. So what's next? I think music is always going to be a part of my life, and I hope it becomes like a bigger part of allowing me to really be able to just focus on helping others. But I think at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that there's not a kid that's 18 years old who's homeless out there writing checks and stealing cars to survive like I was,
right.
That walks into a courtroom with no attorney and no money, and a judge tells you to plead to 3 charges, and that judge gives you 12 to 18 years.
Right. Like,
I don't want to look at a kid. I don't want to watch that. I want to prevent those type of things.
Definitely.
Is what I think I need to end up.
That's definitely a beautiful thing too, because a lot of times that's what I see. It is like a survival thing. Like, it's some people like caught in the wrong crowd or want to live a different image, but majority of people, it's like a survival thing. Like, I mean, because that's hard. Once you 18, 19, like you're responsible for yourself. Like, how do you prepare?
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to get caught up doing the wrong things, and it's like, it's no space to make mistakes, especially if you're a person of color. It's like,
absolutely,
like you messed up that one time, and like you said, like now you're looking at 12 years, and everybody that I know that's done 10, 12 years, they came home different.
Oh yeah.
you know. And like you said, it wasn't no. It's like it's no space to, like how you. It's like no program to help you transition, like into working or you know like what do you even do? Because like my own brother, it's like when he came home after doing that a long amount of time, it was like it was so hard to get him back, like with us, like and it's like. Okay, I'm thinking in my head like, dang, it should be somewhere. It's not somebody you can call that the hell. It's like, no, you free. Like, but you didn't spend your like formative years in prison. So now it's like you look at things completely different than I do.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I remember after all that time I did, I jammed on a Sunday. And I remember they took me on the bus to go cash my check and I got motion sickness because I hadn't moved in all them years.
Right.
And they dropped me at the bus station with a $100 check and a jacket, some jeans, and a flannel shirt and some boots. I hadn't seen the streets in 8 years. Yeah. There was no American Idol. There was no text messaging. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know where I was at, and it was just the fact that I think I've always been blessed. I've always been adaptable.
Right.
Good, bad, or in between. I've always been to adapt where I was at, and the great thing about it was I was able to adapt to prison. I was able to survive that. But when I got back in the world, I was able to find people who were really great that I kind of chameleon to them. I was like, oh, this is how a person normally acts when they're in this social setting. This is how a person speaks when they're like this. Oh, this is how you're supposed to act on social media. You know what I'm saying? Like Facebook, those flashbacks will get you together. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, oh, this is who I was in 2009. I was essentially like a 19-year-old in a 27-year-old's body. Right. You know, and now I'm 35 and I feel like I still have a lot to learn. I feel like I still carry a lot of things in me. I have a sailor's mouth sometimes. My BS, what I can take is not very high. Right. You know what I'm saying? I have, the joint built me in a lot of ways, but some of those things I'm not, I'm proud of. I'm strong. Right. I'm resilient. There's really isn't anything you can say to me that I ain't heard before. I done walked with prison. Right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I lived, 8 months I lived on death row. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not really, I don't know what you can, you know what I mean? Yeah, you feel me? Like it's cool. But it's just, but at the same time, it's just like you said, it's like I don't want to be the anomaly. Right. I want it to be where when you get out of that system, where you serve your time, you should be able to go through some program, through something that exists that helps you come back and be a part of your community. Right. And as black folks, when we know that this prison system attacks us more than anybody.
Yeah, exactly, right.
How are we as black folks not working on that every day?
Right. Like it just don't exist. Like you just supposed to be.
How we cool? How we cool with that? All of us got a cousin, a brother, or somebody that we love that's behind them bars or been affected by them behind them bars. How is that not something that we can unite on and figure out, oh, we can't let this keep happening?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody's too much into other stuff. Like, I don't know where their focus is, but
a lot of focus on where the dollar is going to come from. You don't get a lot of grant money. You don't get a lot of people aren't focused on justice reform and reentry. Right. You're not going to be able to make your nonprofit and live off of that type of check. Right. That's what it is. Keeping it 1,000%. Yeah. If the people who wrote the checks was like, oh, we're focused on reentry work right now, everybody and their mama will be trying to create a reentry program. Exactly. Believe it. Man. You know, and I think, and that's what we have to do. We have to make people passionate about that work. And it's sad that at this point we're relying on the white wealth, to help us do that. But honestly, I don't know if it would be different if it was a lot of black wealth, because black folks don't care about black folks a lot of times.
No, like you said, I think you said it right though, because a lot of people, they just care about their paycheck. Like that's what they're thinking about. Like, because most of us, almost all of us come from a struggling situation. Mm-hmm. So like you said, let me get a check for $200,000, and then I get another one for $30,000, and then $50,000. It's like I got this kind of money coming in. It's like, man, I'm not rocking the boat. Like,
absolutely not.
I'm not gonna talk against them. Like, and it's like, it's just, to me, that's just a terrible thing, because it's like, what about everybody else? Like, especially when they got babies, I don't understand that, because they got babies. So it's like, if this child over here don't have enough to eat, they don't have no nice clothes. No matter what you provide for your child, they growing up together. So this child, like they say, the wrong crowd. So like, why we not focusing more on making sure it's not a wrong crowd?
Because we don't care about each other, fam.
It's sad.
It was the other day. I was talking to somebody. I remember when I got this award from the city, the Changemaker Award, and I really don't connect with a lot of Black people in history just because I don't really see myself in them. And you know, Bayard Rustin is one of them. I'm not gonna get into Bayard, but Google Bayard Rustin. Like, there was a Black queer man who developed Martin Luther King's entire strategy.
Yeah, I heard that.
And he was completely erased from history. And there were some terrible things done. And that's a clear example of what the experience of being Black and queer walking this world is like. But I always think about Harriet Tubman.
Right.
If that sister got to the North and was just like, well, I got here,
And I'm good.
they gonna have to figure it out. I'm gonna light a candle for them. Lord bless.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
how many of us would not be where we are? No, this just was like, I got here. I'm gonna write the roadmap. I'm gonna go back and keep bringing people back and forth. I'm gonna make sure we all get to the other side.
Right.
Knowing that it could cost her life and her complete existence. But that's what she did. Well, I think that's what Black women do anyway to this day. Black women sacrifice themselves for us.
I agree.
All the time, every day.
All the time.
But
they don't get enough credit for it.
And I don't think they ever will, which is terrible to me because Black women are the foundation of everything. Black women affirm me and lift me up and fill my cup every doggone day. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I wish I had those type of relationships with other Black men because we have a different walk and expectation of us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's what we should be doing every day. And it's not saving people. It's, I'm gonna give you the roadmap. I'm gonna show you how to get there. I'm gonna stand there and I'm gonna wave and just come to me.
Right.
You know? So I'm trying to be the Harriet Tubman of this work around here. I want these kids to look at me and be like, okay, this is how Dom did it. These are the steps I can take. And as I walk through this, Dom's gonna walk with me. He ain't gonna do it for me.
Right, right.
But he gonna be here. You know what I'm saying? These young men in these gangs, universe ain't gonna do it for me, but I can watch him and see how you get past it, right? And I can watch him living and doing and acquiring and all this stuff.
And that's the goal.
That's the goal. You know what I mean? And that's what we supposed to be out here making roadmaps.
Right.
If you just get into the other side for your own self, then sit down and say that.
Right, I agree with you. I didn't really get a chance to talk about the music. We ran out of time. But do you want to plug it up? Because I got the CD that you were selling at your show, and I listen to it every day.
Well, thank you. That was a promo CD. My website is DominiqueMorgan.com. All of my music is on Spotify, iTunes. If you ain't got the coin like it's on Tidal too, but if you ain't got coin like that, you can go to SoundCloud and YouTube. A lot of music videos. I'm working on a new album and it's going to coincide with a book series I'm writing right now. I was going to do like this life story, but we do like this fictional series of my prison experience. And the album is going to be like the soundtrack to that. So hit that up. And we got some shows coming up. But just find me on social media, Dominique Morgan, at Dom Morgan Music on Twitter and Instagram. And join me for this ride. I don't know what's next, but I hope y'all come with me.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely wish you the best, and I appreciate you coming out with us.
No
man.
problem.
I really do. Well, fam, as always, you can add on to the conversation at thevoicesofreasonshow.com. You know, hit us up, let us know what you think, and thanks for joining us. Peace.